This is Outnumbered. I'm Andrea Tanteros, and here today, Kennedy, co-host of Fox and Friends First, Ainsley Earhardt, is back. From the Fox Business Network, Elizabeth McDonald, a.k.a. EMAC. And today's hashtag One Lucky Guy, also from FBN, host of Forbes on Fox.
EMAC as...
And we got three. We got Kennedy, too. That's three.
That's right, of course.
Ainsley and I are outnumbered.
We
are. Co-host of After the Bell, Mr. David Asman. And yeah, you were supposed to be outnumbered, but now we are, Ainsley.
That's
so,
right.
Business Channel has taken over, Andrea.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yes, FBN, power forever. Go get them.
if you don't have it, demand it, right?
Right.
You got it.
Yeah,
okay.
Everybody's got it now.
All right, well, let's get to some other business. How about that?
Good.
What a difference 24 hours makes. Just one day after refusing to apologize for using a private email server when she was Secretary of State, the Democratic frontrunner now changing her tune. In an interview with ABC News, Hillary offering what was the start of a string of mea culpas, following what some have called a summer of missteps, and her poll numbers in free fall.
I should have used two accounts, one for personal, one for work-related emails. That was a mistake. I'm sorry about that. I take responsibility. And I'm trying to be as transparent as I possibly can.
Well, apparently one apology was not enough.
Everybody in the government I communicated with, and that was a lot of people, knew I was using a personal email. But I'm sorry that it has, raised all of these questions. I do take responsibility for having made what is clearly not the best decision.
Well, and third time's a charm. Isn't that what they say? Because later on Facebook and Twitter, Hillary apologized again, saying, quote, "Yes, I should have used two email addresses, one for personal matters and one for my work at the State Department. Not doing so was a mistake. I'm sorry about it, and I take full responsibility." All right, David, if I spilled coffee on your notes, I would say that's probably a mistake.
Yes.
But this was going out of her way to set up an illegal server that has led to a massive, massive potential national security breach of epic proportions.
And you get to the point, which is, why did she do it? Why did she do it? Because she was worried about conflict of interest showing up in her emails later on when she was running for president. That's why we all know why she did it. It wasn't a mistake. She did it on purpose because of the fact that she wanted to have control of her emails. If they were in the public sphere, she wouldn't have control of them. This is sort of like, I'm sorry because I was caught. It's not like I'm sorry I did something bad that I should never have done. No, it's I'm sorry that I made this. No, she did it on purpose for a reason. Now, I'm guessing at her motive. We don't have absolute proof of her motive, but you look at all the conflicts of interest with the Clinton Foundation, all of the different people that she was communicating with, that as Secretary of State she shouldn't have been, particularly because they were contributing to her family foundation. I think that's why the whole email was set up in the first place, the whole server. And, of course, not to mention the lies about it, the fact that there was no classified stuff, that it was Bill's server, it wasn't my server, all this stuff that was said that wasn't true.
Right. There have been so many lies that she's given, Ainsley, and been caught in up until this point. And this has been going on for months, and she's been strident. I mean, we saw her Saturday, no apology, Sunday, no apology. And then they came out and they said, oh, look, we found lots of classified information. She's like, I'm sorry.
Right. Two things came to mind when I watched this. I thought, Bill Clinton, he's telling her, this is your last chip to play. You've got to go out there and say, I'm sorry, because whatever you're doing now is not working. And when, he said, I'm sorry, people turned to him and loved him and supported him. So I think he was saying, you've got to do this. You've got to sound like you're really remorseful for this. But also, she said, she still calculated, Andrea. She said, I'm sorry for raising questions. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cause all of this attention. But never did she say, I'm sorry for putting our country in jeopardy. I am sorry for the lives that were lost during Benghazi. And maybe that could have been my fault or was my fault. You never heard her say that. You never heard her apologize to those family members or the men and women like your son who are fighting for our country, and she's putting them in jeopardy by sending emails through her own personal
That's
server.
why it makes a difference.
Okay,
what
so
happened.
there are a couple of things here that, one is the same old 90s playbook where she's talking about attacks and distractions. No, she was the Secretary of State. This was classified information. Let's just assume that she had sent and received classified information because that seems to be one of the known factors. My concern is she's using one email system and one email address address conceivably to send 30,000 personal emails to people who now have her email address. And that means, you know, those 30,000 emails could be a blueprint to the same address with which she's using to send classified information. I mean, if that in and of itself isn't, you know, gross incompetence and a security breach, I don't know how you would define it.
Right. I mean, to Ainsley's point, the apology never really went to what it should have. It's like saying, if I hurt your feelings, I'm sorry you feel that way, EMAC. Right. Instead of taking some responsibility. And when she said that she is trying to be transparent, she isn't. It's another lie. Where are the 30,000 emails and the server?
And the danger is she's maybe beyond the point of no return, because why is she apologizing now? Is it because the poll numbers are dropping and donors are complaining? And taking this narrow, lawyerly stance just doesn't play right now. There's no humility, no remorse over what happened. And by the way, no discussion of the emails that were deleted. I mean, time and again, the Clintons have taken these legalistic, lawyerly positions with cagey wording. And she did it, too, with the apology over, you know, supporting the Iraq war. I mean, it's the same thing over and over. I think Kennedy is right.
I think there was one thing in there, another misstatement, where she says it was totally above board. Of course, there's a lot of questions about that. She said everybody in the government I communicated knew I was using a personal email. Well, remember, last week we had this State Department email that Huma and the State Department were saying, gee, it doesn't appear that they know that we have this. And yet, yesterday, she said everybody knew that she had it. So,
but it's more talking down. It's more talking down to the American people. Making us feel inferior for even asking what happened. Well, how did you put the country at risk?
Well, yeah, I mean, she's in enough trouble. If she was sending and receiving classified information, the Intelligence Community Inspector General has said that over and over again, and with each new trove, we see even more. You know, so she's in enough trouble there. If there was classified information that she destroyed, that is a new vat of deep yogurt where she will find herself at the bottom.
Yeah, this wasn't a very simple mistake. It was a deliberate action that she took.
I love that phrase.
Sorry for it. And by the way, we're paying for that new transparency czar we didn't talk about. It's costing us extra money for her mistakes. She should be sorry for that, too. In the meantime, it looks like Hillary Clinton's email scandal is having an impact on her old stomping grounds. Secretary of State, as I just mentioned, appointing Janice Jacobs to transparency coordinator. So she's essentially an email czar in charge of improving transparency as the agency struggles to overcome archaic record-keeping practices and its poor handling of public records. A State Department spokesman admitting the position was created in part due to the intense public attention to Clinton's emails. This is we're also learning that the agency plans to move about 50 workers, 50, into temporary jobs to help the office sift through her emails. As I just mentioned, EMAC, a colossal waste of our money coming from the administration that pledged years ago to be the most transparent.
Right,
Why do
at
we
a
have to pay for
time
this?
when we need the workers to be tracking where is ISIS, who are the refugees coming into Europe, and all sorts of world problems. We need those 50 workers on other things, not tracking Hillary's email controversy. You know, by the way, I don't think czars have to testify before Congress, but setting that aside, you know, and then there's a question about whether this new official, this new czar, made a campaign donation to Hillary Clinton, $2,700 as a private citizen.
And then
so that's coming up too.
So it's going to be very fair.
But David, to me, this looks more and more like an administration-wide cover-up. I mean, they're trying to take actions, and this is coordinated. This is Kerry now, trying to take actions to look like they're doing something instead of the action they should take, and that is hauling her in to the FBI and interrogating her and applying the same penalty that General Petraeus had. Anything else would look like special treatment.
One thing that's bothering everybody in the White House and certainly in the Hillary campaign is what happened last week when our own Catherine Herridge got information from sources in the State Department. There are careerists in the State Department that hate the fact that politics have intruded on what is supposed to be free from politics or dealing with other countries. It clearly wasn't that way when Secretary of State Hillary Clinton was in power, and they are now talking. There are whistleblowers in the State Department. I think this may be, I have no evidence of this, but this may be an attempt to put a cap on the whistleblowers that were speaking to Fox News last week. Maybe this is an attempt to shut them up.
You know, Kennedy, at best, I mean, take the lies aside. She was in over her head in this job.
Yeah.
I mean, she could not at bare minimum, handle the responsibilities and the function of Secretary of State, how is she going to move into higher office?
And she also didn't have basic respect for the information that was crossing her email and crossing her desk. And if you had an email system that wasn't set up to handle classified information, that means you weren't doing your job, that she wasn't able to get the critical national security she needed as a Secretary of State. I mean, she was the head of the State Department, this country's chief diplomat, and you're telling me that she was unable, she was incapable of getting vital information? Yeah. You know, if it set aside the evil, set aside the conspiracy theories that are very easy to craft right now. You know, that alone speaks to gross incompetence. If you can't handle the State Department, how are you going to handle the White House in your own administration?
No question. Well, we know she wasn't listening to national security advisors on serious issues like Libya. She was listening to her buddy named Sid Ainsley, and she was getting information about TV times and skim milk and tea. I mean, again, she's a very unserious person when we do look at the emails that are put forward. And, you know, I have to say, I mean, maybe it's better to not have her be the first female president, because I really don't want, as women, to have to defend somebody who's so incompetent in the highest office if she would win.
Yeah, good point. You know, this is 2015. What surprises me is they're just now hiring someone to monitor emails for the State Department. This is not some mom and pop sub sandwich shop, you know, in the middle of South Carolina. This is the State Department. Why are we just hiring someone to monitor emails? This never should have happened. We should stop this. Absolutely. But I just can't believe we've gotten to this point. I really can't. Yeah. It's ridiculous that we're having this conversation. It's 2015.
It is. All right. Just days after Clinton's aides said that she plans to show more heart this fall, the Democratic frontrunner all teared up in a TV interview. What got to her, and whether a mainstream news anchor would ask a Republican the same question. Plus, now that Kim Davis is out of jail, new questions about religious exemptions on the job. Should there be more accommodations, I should say, for people of faith? Or do public servants have to follow the law no matter what? And right after the show, catch more from the couch on the web. Join us for Outnumbered Overtime. Harris isn't here, but guess what? I'm doing it today. OT, baby. FoxNews.com/outnumbered. Click the Overtime tab. Start tweeting us your questions, your comments. The chat is going to be on fire like it was yesterday. Fire them away.